My name is Nora and I'm 34 years old. I run a small flower business with 2 shops. The money isn't great, but it's stable. During the pandemic, I almost went bankrupt. Those were hard times. I had to let go of employees, cut costs everywhere, and work 16-hour days just to keep the business alive. But somehow I managed to survive. Now things are better. I'm even saving money to open a 3rd store. It's been my dream for years. I have parents and a younger sister named Lena. She's 27. We grew up in a normal family, nothing special. My parents always worked regular jobs. They never had much money saved up. When I started my business 10 years ago, they didn't help me financially. I did everything myself. I took loans, worked multiple jobs, and built it from scratch. Over the years, my family got used to asking me for money. First, it was small things. My dad needed car repairs. My mom wanted a new refrigerator. Lena needed help with rent. I never said no. I never asked them to pay me back either. I didn't keep track of how much I gave them. That was my mistake. They started to expect it. My mom would call and say they needed money for bills. My dad would mention something he wanted to buy. Lena always had some emergency. Every month there was something. I gave them thousands of dollars over the years. And every time I helped them, they acted like it was normal, like I owed them. One day, my mom said something that bothered me. She told me that helping them financially was my direct obligation. She said I was a businesswoman, so I should have good income and spare money for the family. My dad agreed with her. Lena just nodded. They all believed I had plenty of money to share. They didn't understand that running a small business means living with constant stress and uncertainty. Last month, my parents invited me to dinner. They said we needed to discuss something together. I thought maybe they wanted to talk about my dad's health or something serious. I went to their house on Saturday evening. My mom cooked a big meal. Lena was already there with her boyfriend, Ethan. I'd met him a few times before. He seemed like a decent guy. They'd been dating for over a year. We sat down to eat. Everyone was acting strange. They kept looking at each other. Finally, Lena cleared her throat and started talking. She said she had big news. Ethan proposed to her, and she said yes. They were planning to have a wedding. I smiled and congratulated her. I was happy for her. Marriage is a big step. But then Lena's face got serious. She said congratulations alone wouldn't be enough. She needed money for the wedding. She had already planned everything and put together a budget. My mom handed me a piece of paper. I looked at it. There were lists of expenses. Venue rental, catering, flowers, photographer, dress, decorations. At the bottom of the page was a number that made my stomach drop. $120,000. I stared at that number. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I looked up at Lena. She was watching me with this expectant expression, like she already knew I would agree. I put the paper down on the table. I told her she had lost her mind. There was no way I would give her $120,000. I said I was planning to spend about that much on opening my new store. That money was for my business, not for a wedding. Lena's face turned red. She started yelling. She said it wasn't fair. I should always help her. She was counting on me. How could I be so selfish? This was her special day. She deserved a beautiful wedding. My mom jumped in and said I shouldn't be so greedy. My dad sat there quietly, not saying anything, but I could tell he agreed with them. I felt my anger rising. I told them they were being ridiculous. $120,000 was an insane amount of money for a wedding. Most people don't spend that much. Lena screamed that I didn't understand anything. She had dreams for her wedding day. She wanted everything to be perfect. My mom said I made good money from my business so I could afford to help my sister. That's when I lost it. I told them my business barely survived the pandemic. I work hard for every dollar I make. I've given them thousands over the years, and they never appreciated it. They just expected more and more. Lena called me a terrible sister. My mom said I was being cruel. I grabbed my purse and walked out. I heard them yelling behind me, but I didn't stop. When I got home, my phone was blowing up. Missed calls and messages. My mom sent me long texts about how I was breaking Lena's heart. How could I do this to my own sister? Didn't I care about family? Lena sent messages calling me names. My dad finally sent one message saying I should reconsider. I sat on my couch for an hour staring at my phone. I felt angry and guilty at the same time. Part of me wanted to tell them all to go to hell, but another part of me felt bad. Lena was my sister. I didn't want to ruin her wedding. Finally, I sent them a message. I said I would give $45,000 for the wedding. That was my final offer. Lena replied immediately with one word. Okay. Like she was doing me a favor by accepting my money. My mom wrote that she was disappointed with my decision. They would accept my modest help anyway. Modest. $45,000 was modest to them. I transferred the money the next day to Lena's account. I wrote her a message telling her to order and pay for everything herself. I didn't have time to help with planning. Then I turned off my phone and went to bed. After I sent the money, 2 months passed. Complete silence. Nobody called me. Nobody texted me. Not my parents. Not Lena. It was like I didn't exist. First I felt relieved. I focused on my work and looked at locations for my third store. But after a while, the silence started to bother me. I wondered what was happening with the wedding preparations. Finally I called my parents. My mom answered. I asked how things were going with the wedding. She said everything was fine. The celebration would take place in 2 weeks. I waited for her to say more, but she didn't. I asked why Lena still hadn't sent me a wedding invitation. My mom made some excuse about being busy. Then she hung up. Half an hour later I got an email from Lena. It was a wedding invitation. Very formal. No personal message, just the date, time, and location. I stared at it for a long time. This felt wrong, but I told myself I was overthinking it. Maybe Lena was just stressed about the wedding. I went shopping and bought myself a nice evening dress. It was dark blue with a fitted waist. I also got beautiful shoes and a small handbag. I wanted to look good at my sister's wedding. Couple of days later, a wedding planner called me. She asked if I could take care of all the wedding floristry. I own flower shops, so it made sense. I agreed immediately. I spent the next few days preparing beautiful flower arrangements, centerpieces for the tables, bouquets, decorations for the ceremony space. I used the best flowers I had. Roses, peonies, orchids. Everything had to be perfect. I spent $2,300 on this, but I didn't mind. It would be my wedding gift to Lena. The wedding day came. Got ready early. I did my hair and makeup carefully. I put on my new dress and shoes. I looked at myself in the mirror and felt good. I drove to the venue, which was a fancy hotel outside the city. When I arrived, I saw the parking lot was full. There were a lot of guests. I walked toward the entrance. There were people everywhere, all dressed up. I recognized some family friends and distant relatives. At the door, there was a security guard checking names. I thought it was a bit much for a wedding, but maybe Lena wanted everything to be formal and organized. I walked up to the guard. He asked me to state my name. I told him I was Nora. He looked down at his tablet. He scrolled through something, then stopped. He enlarged my photo to full screen. I saw my own face on his tablet, and next to it, in large letters, was the word forbidden. The guard looked at me and said I was prohibited from accessing this event. I stood there in shock. I asked him why I couldn't go to the wedding. He said it was by order of the bride and her parents. I felt my face get hot. My hands started shaking. This couldn't be real. A few feet away, I saw my mom talking to some guests. I called out to her loudly. She turned and saw me. She walked over quickly. I asked her why the guard hadn't let me into the hall. My mom looked at me calmly and said the guard had done everything correctly. She said that at a family council, they decided I had been too stingy. Therefore, today I was not worthy of being at this wedding. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. I couldn't breathe properly. I told her I had paid $45,000 for this wedding. My mom's expression didn't change. She said it was my duty. She said I should have given a larger sum for my sister's wedding, not this pittance. She said because of me, Lena had to have a cheaper wedding. She and my dad wouldn't let me completely ruin Lena's big day. I needed to leave immediately. I was furious. I wanted to scream at her, but I saw people starting to stare at us. Some strangers were watching from a distance. I felt humiliated, ashamed. I turned around and walked toward the exit. My legs felt weak. I kept my head up, but inside I was falling apart. As I walked through the parking lot, I heard whispers behind me. I got in my car and drove home. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the steering wheel. When I got home, I saw missed calls from an unknown number. Then that number called again. Answered. A woman's voice introduced herself as Ethan's mother, Patricia. She said an hour ago she had heard my conversation with my mom. She had also seen my photo with a security guard and the word on the stop list. She said she and her husband were in shock. They had talked to Lena and Ethan. Lena told them I was not worthy of being at the event. But Ethan told them that I had paid $45,000 for the wedding. Patricia said she and her husband had also given $45,000. They thought Lena's parents had paid the other half. They had no idea Lena's family contributed nothing. Then she said something that shocked me. She said they had canceled the wedding right then and there. Lena and Ethan would be punished for their behavior. She would do everything possible to help me get my money back. I couldn't speak. I just listened. Patricia's husband got on the phone. He said Ethan and Lena had been living in their apartment for over a year. He had warned them that if they wanted to continue living there, they would have to reimburse me for all the wedding money. He said their son would contact me soon. He also said Lena was very angry with me now. She would probably come to my house. I should be careful. 10 minutes later, someone started banging on my door. Lena was shouting from behind the door. She said I had deliberately set all this up. Because of me, Ethan's parents had canceled the wedding. All the guests were shocked. I had embarrassed her. I walked to the door but didn't open it. I told her through the door that she had embarrassed herself when she put her own sister's name on the blacklist. Lena yelled that I should talk to her in-laws and explain everything to them. I said I wouldn't do that. She burst into tears and ran away. I heard her footsteps fading. Then my phone rang. It was my parents. They were both yelling at once. I had ruined everything. I should be ashamed. This wasn't how they raised me. I told them they should be ashamed for going along with Lena. They allowed their older daughter to be put on a stop list. I said they wouldn't get another cent from me. Then I hung up and blocked their numbers. I blocked Lena's number too. I turned off my phone and sat in the dark. 2 days later, I woke up and checked my bank account. There was a transfer of $7,000. I stared at it, confused. Then I got a message from Patricia. She wrote that this was my half of the money for catering and venue rental. The vendors had refunded them for the cancelled wedding. I wrote back thanking her. She seemed like a good person. That same day, Ethan came to my flower shop. I was arranging some bouquets when he walked in. He looked terrible. His eyes were red and he looked like he hadn't slept. He apologized to me. He said he had gone along with Lena. He knew it was wrong, but he didn't stop it. I didn't say anything. I just waited for him to continue. He pulled out some papers from his bag. He said his parents had forced him and Lena to sign an agreement. They would have to return $37,000 to me within a year. He showed me the document. It was all official with signatures and dates. I read through it carefully. Then I signed it too. Ethan looked relieved. He left without saying anything else. After that, $3,000 came to my account every month. But Lena couldn't just send the money normally. In the payment comments, she wrote that this was money for a cheapskate. Every single month the same insult. I didn't respond. I just took the money and saved it. 3 months passed like this. Then Patricia sent me some photos. I opened them and saw Lena in a simple white dress standing at City Hall. Ethan was next to her in a regular suit. Their parents were there. That was it. No fancy venue, no decorations, no guests. Just a basic courthouse wedding. Patricia wrote that this was their actual wedding. I looked at the photos for a long time. Part of me felt satisfied, but another part felt sad that it had come to this. Several more months went by. My life got better. Patricia and I became friends. She told me she was a realtor. When I mentioned I was looking for a space for my third store, she said she would help me. And she did. She found a perfect location in a good neighborhood. The rent was reasonable and there was plenty of foot traffic. Patricia also introduced me to a wedding planner named Victor. We met at a cafe and he told me about his business. He organized about 20 weddings a year. He said he was always looking for reliable florists. We talked about my work and he seemed impressed. A week later he called me and offered a contract. I would do the floristry for all the weddings he organized. The pay was excellent. I signed immediately. My business started growing. The new store was doing well. The contract with Victor brought in steady income. I hired more employees. I even started thinking about opening a fourth store. Eventually, my life was finally moving forward. Meanwhile, Lena kept sending the monthly payments with her nasty comments. I ignored them. Then one day she called me. I hadn't heard her voice in months. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. She said she was pregnant. Then she said I should forgive the rest of the debt. Just like that. Like I owed her something. I told her no. I wouldn't forgive anything, but I agreed she could pay me $1,500 a month for a year instead of $3,000. That would give her more time and make the payments easier. She said she would do it. Then she added that she never thought I would become so greedy. I hung up without responding. After that, Lena and Ethan started sending me $1,500 every month. The payments kept coming. I still didn't talk to my parents. They had tried to contact me a few times from different numbers, but I never answered. I was done with them. My third store opened and was successful from the start. Victor kept sending me business. I was making more money than ever before. Paid off my loans. I bought new equipment. I even gave my employees raises. Everything was working out. Then one day Lena's baby was born. Patricia sent me a photo of him at the hospital. He had dark hair and tiny fingers. I saved the photo but didn't reply. A few months later, Lena made her final payment. $37,000 total. Every cent was back in my account. Right after the last payment, my parents sent me a message. They said we needed to make up. It was time to forget old grudges. They had seriously talked to Lena about what happened. They realized they had made a big mistake back then. They wanted to fix things. I read the message several times. I didn't know what to feel. Angry, sad, confused. I wrote back that I would think about it. That was all I could say. Patricia kept sending me photos of my nephew. He was growing fast. He had started smiling, then crawling. I watched him grow through photos. Felt strange. He was my nephew, but I had never met him. Christmas was coming. Patricia called me one day and invited me to her house for Christmas dinner. She said my parents and Lena would be there too. It was time for the family to come together. She said it in a way that made it hard to say no. I thought about it for a few days. Finally, I said yes. I wanted to meet my nephew and maybe, just maybe, I could talk to my family and figure out if we could fix things. I still felt hurt, betrayed, but I also felt tired of being angry all the time. Patricia seemed to think we could work it out. She had been good to me. She had helped my business grow. She had been more of a family to me than my own family had been. She thought this was a good idea, maybe it was worth trying. For now, I was focused on my business. My third store was doing great. I was putting a lot of effort into running it. The holidays were my busiest season. People bought flowers for parties and gifts. I worked long hours, but I loved it. This was what I had built. Nobody had given it to me. I had earned every bit of it. Christmas was 2 weeks away. I bought a gift for my nephew, a soft teddy bear and some baby clothes. I didn't know if I would give them to him myself or just leave them with Patricia. I didn't know what would happen at that dinner, but I was going to show up and see. Maybe my family had really changed. Maybe they understood what they had done. Or maybe it would be a disaster. Either way, I would find out soon. I had survived worse. Whatever happened, I would handle it. The days before Christmas went by quickly. I was busy at the shops. People were ordering arrangements for parties and buying poinsettias and wreaths. My employees worked overtime. I barely had time to think about the dinner at Patricia's house. Christmas Eve arrived. Got ready carefully. I wore a nice sweater and jeans. Nothing too fancy. I packed the gifts for my nephew in a bag. Then I drove to Patricia's house. It was in a good neighborhood with big houses and decorated lawns. Christmas lights were everywhere. I parked in front of her house and sat in the car for a minute. I could see lights on inside. Through the window I saw people moving around. My stomach felt tight. I took a deep breath and got out of the car. Patricia opened the door before I could knock. She smiled and hugged me. She said she was glad I came. I walked inside. The house smelled like roasted turkey and pine. There was a big Christmas tree in the living room with presents underneath. I saw Ethan first. He was holding the baby. The baby was bigger now, almost a year old. He had chubby cheeks and was wearing a little red outfit. Ethan nodded at me. I nodded back. Then I saw Lena sitting on the couch. She looked at me but didn't say anything. Her expression was hard to read. My parents were standing by the fireplace. My mom looked older. My dad had more gray hair. They both stared at me. Nobody spoke for a moment. It was awkward. Patricia broke the silence. She said dinner would be ready soon and asked if anyone wanted drinks. I walked over to Ethan and looked at the baby. He was beautiful. He had Lena's eyes. Ethan asked if I wanted to hold him. Said yes. He put the baby in my arms. The baby looked up at me and smiled. Something in my chest loosened a bit. This was my nephew, my family. Lena stood up and came over. She said his name was Caleb. I said it was a nice name. She didn't say anything else. She just took Caleb back from me and walked away. I felt the coldness between us. This wasn't going to be easy. We all sat down for dinner. Patricia had made a huge meal. Turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, vegetables, pies. Everything looked delicious. We passed dishes around. People made small talk about the weather and the food, but nobody talked about what had happened. Finally, my dad cleared his throat. He said he wanted to say something. He looked at me and said he was sorry. They had handled everything wrong. They should have supported me instead of treating me like a bank. My mom nodded. She said she was sorry too. Lena sat there looking at her plate. I asked Lena if she had anything to say. She looked up at me. She said she was sorry for putting me on the blacklist. It was wrong. She had been angry and stupid. But her voice was flat. It didn't sound like she really meant it. I could tell she was only apologizing because she had to. I told them I appreciated the apologies, but I said things couldn't just go back to normal. Trust takes time to rebuild. They had hurt me badly. My mom started crying. She said she understood. My dad reached over and held her hand. The rest of dinner was quiet. We ate and made occasional comments about the food. Caleb babbled and threw some food on the floor. Made people laugh a bit. After dinner we moved to the living room. Patricia brought out coffee and cookies. I gave Caleb his presents. Lena opened them and said, "Thank you." Victor's father asked me about my business. I told him about the third store and the contract with Victor. He said he was proud of me. That felt nice to hear. As the evening went on, things felt less tense. We weren't a happy family yet. Maybe we never would be, but we were talking. That was something. Lena and I didn't hug or act like sisters, but we were in the same room without fighting. That was progress. When it was time to leave, Patricia walked me to the door. She thanked me for coming. She said this was a good first step. I agreed. Baby steps, that's all we could do. I drove home thinking about everything. My family had used me. They had humiliated me. But they were still my family. I didn't know if I could fully forgive them. But maybe I could find a way to move forward. Not for them, for me. So I wouldn't have to carry this anger forever. My business was doing well. I had good friends like Patricia and Victor. I had my nephew now. My life was full without my family's drama. But maybe there was room for them too, on my terms this time with boundaries. I didn't know what the future would bring. But I knew one thing. I would never let anyone take advantage of me again. I had learned that lesson the hard way. And I was stronger for it. As I pulled into my driveway, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, peace. Not happiness exactly, but peace. And that was enough for now. Tomorrow I would go back to work. I would keep building my business and my life. And whatever happened with my family, I would handle it because I always did.